Alright, I'm going to set up a little still life right here and draw it and see how it turns out. But this is going to be all about shadows, so I've got to set up some shadows. So first of all, I'm going to turn off some lights. This is my studio. Turn on some lights. Now I got this really bright back door light. See, alright, so this shadow is from this light over here. Alright, hang on. I want to have a really strong shadow. So this light right here that I've got, this one doesn't make a great shadow over here. Not only that, but I probably need some paper to catch my shadow on a little bit better. I'm going to use this high quality Bristol board paper right here. And put this right here. And now I can see the shadows a little bit better. But I don't like this light. I do like this light. However, I don't like the direction it's coming from. So, let's put it right here. There we go. Now, I've got a sketchbook I'm going to put it in, my drawing. Maybe on this next page here. I also like this particular view of it that you see right here. If I move the camera, I'm going to undo my camera here for a second to show you. Look at the dramatic perspective of this right here. And then if I move this down to here, well, it's got a nice dramatic perspective, but that's kind of the typical way one would look at their coffee mug sitting at a table. Another good drawing would be like from here maybe, but the problem is my shadow is too small, so I'm going to move it up here. Now I'm going to put the camera on my drawing, but I want you to see what it is. I'm going to actually stand while I draw this so that I get this particular perspective of my coffee. Alright. So I'm looking down at my coffee the same way the camera was just a moment ago, which creates a, you know what, I'm going to make some changes real quick. I think it would be better if the shadow was a little longer. So make it even more dramatic. But I'm going to bring the coffee over here. There we go. I like that. Now I'm going to turn this back to my paper. Remember, I may not have said this, but this drawing is going to be about the shadows. At least that's my hope. I'm going to start with what I know, which is that this mug is pretty large. I'm looking at it sort of at an angle, so it's not going to be a perfect circle, but I'm looking down on it, so it's a pretty wide oval. By wide, I mean the distance from here to here is pretty wide. And then the body of the cup comes out from under here like this, comes down. I'm using my pencil to sight, and the distance from here to here is about what the bottom of this mug is. So from here almost to the back of that mug, from right here where my finger is, that should be the base. So the base should come to about right there. Now it feels hard to put that base in there like that. Like I'm really having to distort the cup in order to make that happen. I'm going to disregard the handle for right now so I can get a nice smooth side on this mug. And then I'm going to draw the handle. Now the handle comes up, I can see a little bit of this right here. And then this handle comes out to right here. And it attaches about right there. So this is extremely hard. Like, we know that that handle doesn't quite look like that, but I mean, it looks like that, just not from the angle that we're used to looking at it at. Another problem is that there's a lot more space in here, I feel like, but I can, when I'm looking through the mug, that's pretty close. Now I can see the coffee on the inside here, and I can measure it kind of goes just inside of where I see this coming down. This part is, so like right there. And it touches this part almost. Like if it went through the mug, it would touch this part. And then there's a shadow right here. It's about halfway, like right there in the half of the mug. Right there, except that this part goes that way. This part curves this way, and then it comes into contact with like this part of the mug. Alright. So that's the mug itself. Let's look at the shadow, which I see coming out from right here. And splitting off like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Because it's an LED light, there's like a ton of little LEDs inside the thing, and each LED creates a different shadow. From a really light one out here, another one, 1, 2, 3, 4. There's at least 5 edges. Hang on just a minute. And then down here, from like right in the middle of the base, curves just so slightly and goes this way. And it also splits off a bunch of times. And right out here is the handle. Alright, there is my sketch. You know, I didn't actually mean for the sketch to be that detailed. I was actually going to do a bunch of thumbnail sketches first, but I guess the time for that has passed. There's also a thickness to this rim that I don't want to miss. Alright, now I am way too big of a fan right now of these Micron pens. So much of a fan, in fact, that so many of my drawings have been just of using these pens like this. So I'm going to continue it, but to make it a little bit more spontaneous, I'm going to use this. See if I can get a hold of that brush tip pen. You can see it's got a brush tip, and it says brush on the side. You can see it's a Micron Pigma, if it weren't so dark in here. Alright, here we go. Now, I'm not trying to draw. I've already drawn a lot of accuracy, okay? So I'm going to let things go now, and I'm just going to kind of outline it. And I'm not terribly great at controlling these this brush. Like, I try to make a thin line and then a thick line and so on. I can't do it as gracefully as some people can. Some people can make that thin line exactly where they want it. Other people, like me, not so much. So again, I'm not trying to make it completely accurate. I can't do that so much with a brush pen. That's the beauty of it, though. The brush pen gives me some spontaneity, whether I want it or not. Sometimes where I don't want it. I do know, however, where I like for there to be a lot heavier line weight, and making a heavy line weight is a little bit easier than making a thinner, lighter line weight. Try not to get my shadows like too dark too fast, but I kind of just jumped right in there, and that's okay. If this drawing does not turn out perfect, that's okay. It's in my sketchbook, and nobody gonna know. Well, except for all you people watching. I'm still looking at the cup a lot to find the shadows, where it's darker, where it's lighter, and so on. Still using it for a reference. This particular cup's got a bunch of these little facets on the side. Not facets, but divots, I guess, on the side. I'm not going to spend a lot of time trying to get those. Those are beautiful. My wife made this coffee mug, and I hate to leave too much off of it. But for right now, I'm not going to worry about those divots. Too much pressure. Too much pressure. Just keep it simple. Alright, I think I've got most of the dark shadows with this pen. I'm now going to switch to this 08 because then I can control it a little bit better. And I don't want to mess up this little area right here and put too much. The great thing with a thinner pen is you can put down like that much shadow. You probably can't even see that very well in the picture, in the video, but I can put down that much, and if it's not dark enough, I can go back and add more and make it darker. This 8 is not working out great. Remember, these sketch lines are just that. They're sketch lines. Don't take them too seriously. I don't know if I said this a second ago. This 8 seems to be running out of ink, so it's not marking as dark as I'd like for it to. Let me see if I can find another one. Alright, found one. Let's see what we can do. Yep, that's a lot darker. That's what I wanted before. So part of the problem here is that this shadow, you can look at the shadow on my hand and see this is not completely black, right? Neither is the shadow of this cup. And so if I use this brush, it's going to look really dark like this, and I don't want it to look really dark like that. So I'm going to do my best to just stretch out this 8. And I'm horrible at drawing a straight line, y'all, but that's okay. The way I see it, that's just kind of my hand and part of my style. I mean, I'm not trying to make excuses. I hate it when people say, "Oh, that's just my style," because they're kind of denying themselves the chance to learn. Like, go ahead and learn how to draw a straight line. Learn how to draw a good coffee mug, or learn how to do something correctly. But there are things that are just your style. Like, if this is the way you like to draw your hatch marks, and that's the way you like to draw your hatch marks, and I'm not saying don't do it that way if that's the way you like doing it. But on the other hand, there's also things like, and I still feel like I'm making excuses, even though I'm telling you this and purporting it to be true. There's part of me that still feels like I'm making excuses, but I do drink a lot of coffee, and I'm 52 years old, and that combination does not bode well for drawing a straight line. I could get out a ruler and I could do it, and sometimes I do. Let me see if I can find a picture in here where I got out a ruler, just to show you. I drew a picture. See these? I got a ruler out and I drew all those lines. I got a ruler out and drew those lines. And that's good. I don't think I need the ruler for this. I could be wrong. Maybe I need the ruler. I don't know. But my decision right now is to draw it freehand and let my wiggly lines shine. You tell me at the end, tell me in the comments down below if you think I should break out the ruler. Are my lines too wibbly wobbly, wiggly, or is this legit? And another thing is, I'm not real sure what I'm going for here. I'm just drawing today. I had this idea that I like coffee a lot, and there's no reason why a picture of a coffee mug, coffee, that sort of thing, it shouldn't be a part of my series, my everyday art. I don't know, whatever you want to call it. I haven't really done anything consistently enough for a while to call it my series, my body of work. I've just been teaching school and drawing in my sketchbook a lot, which is kind of what this is right here now too. But if I were to decide I want to work on a series, there's no reason why my series of drawings can't be coffee mugs, right? And by the way, I think I like hatching, that is drawing lines all in the same direction, better than I do cross hatching. Although cross hatching is a little bit faster, and I've already done a little bit of it in this drawing, like right here. I like lines that sort of follow one another in direction. They don't have to be parallel. But I kind of feel like if I go crossways this way, I'm kind of ruining something. I don't know what I'm ruining. Forgive my coughing. I am just getting over COVID. I've had it all week long. I haven't even felt much like drawing, although I've done a little bit. Today is about the best I have felt Saturday, and today is about the best I have felt all week long. Although right now I am sweating, and all right, let me see if I can get these shadows that come out here. Sometimes you can just like settle down. I'm sitting here going, and maybe what I need to do is just stop and try and draw one line right next to another line without crossing it too much, to get that effect of the thick shadow right there that thins out becomes a little bit lighter as it gets closer to the other shadow. Really what I think would be most beneficial in getting that effect is to do some cross hatching, and then I could feather it a little bit. That's not too bad, really. Now, here is my next thought. All right, I'm really just kind of drawing this and thinking about the various parts of it as I go and sharing them with you. The next thing that crosses my mind is that this is coffee, and it's not white. Like coffee is not white. This is white paper over here that it's sitting on. That might be white. It's not really. I mean, the paper's white, but the shadow on it, the way the light hits it, makes it not white anymore. So, like for example, here on this picture, I think in the view of the camera, you see that this is white over here, but this, even though it's white paper, is darker, right? So the same thing on the paper in front of me that the coffee mug's sitting on. So what I'm trying to say is, I should not leave that white. So this is where my cross hatching comes in, because I've already established some shadows, and now I can make this darker by adding more lines. And as I make these lines, I can go across and into the white. I'll show you in just a second. And that will make the coffee itself no longer white, but gray. And at the same time making all of that darker as well. You see what I mean? So now this is no longer appears white. This appears white, but that doesn't. And at the same time I made this darker by adding lines. And I really like just hatching, again, lines that are side by side. But in order for the picture to, I think, be at its most, you have to stretch it. In order to stretch the values, I'm going to have to do some cross hatching, because my hand is not steady enough to lay down lines side by side by side that never cross over one another. And by doing this, I create more value, and the more value I create, the more realistic this becomes. Realism is not my goal, but it's not my enemy either. I'm not trying to avoid it, and if it's what it takes to make this look best, then I'm going to keep adding colors, keep adding layers to it. Now, this is, coffee brown. This is blue, therefore it's also not white. And what I really had to do is kind of look at this and this in real life and see which one's darker. And honestly, they're almost the same value. One of them's a light blue and one of them's a light gray. I think what I'm going to do is make the light blue darker. And I do that by putting lines as close together as I can. I'm also kind of going with the contour, so to speak. I'm making these lines go up and down because the inside of the coffee mug goes up and down. Whereas I made this go this direction, partly because the water, the level of the coffee goes across this direction. It's flat. And also because I thought it was the best way to cross over all of this, which of course I started with. Alright, so now I have changed the value of that as well. This whole rim is dark. Like, it's not even light blue, it's kind of a dark blue. So I can make this a whole lot darker if I want to. It does have a lighter value in between the outside and the inside right there. This is, ladies and gentlemen, just my take on the whole thing. Just me demonstrating. Wanted to do some drawing. I wanted y'all to know that I still exist and that I'm still making art. I haven't done very many videos in a little while. This whole mug, of course, is like this light blue color. So this whole mug needs a little bit of value across it because it's not white. Some artists do contour lines, like they will make a curve right here to help you understand that the side of the mug is, or the side of the handle is curved. Again, my hand is not as steady as I would like it to be. I'm making up excuses, but I typically just go with straight lines because I have a hard time making a curve like I did right there. I did not make a curve right there that was difficult to make. Keeping a consistent curve on this thing is where I fail. I'm just rambling. Now, the side of the mug is also light blue. And here I am about to contradict myself. I did not do curves right there because I didn't think I would be able to make those curves the way they really should be. However, I can do curves on this thing probably and make it a lot better. So let's see what happens. As I'm going, I'm kind of straightening them up, and then I'm going to curve around this way, and then again this is probably where I kind of fail at making a good curved line, although I'm not doing too bad. putting some kind of mark, whether it's a hatch mark or a drawing or contour or whatever, makes that area look tended to more. If I leave it white like I did this, like all this is white, that part, you know, I haven't done anything there. So by leaving that white a minute ago, the way it was a minute ago, I don't know, it just felt unfinished, like I hadn't thought about that part at all. So I'm thinking about that part, and I'm adding value to it. The picture, the still life, is a lot darker here than it is out here. And because I'm doing this, you know, black and white and not color, I may have to, even though this shadow is not really black right there, I am now getting into the area where I have to take artistic license in order to get the effect that I want it to have, the dramatic effect. If I draw it the way it is in real life, that's good. And I probably could have set up a still life that was really more dramatic, you know, and that would have been a good idea to start with. But since I did not set up a more dramatic still life, I'm going to make a more dramatic still life by shading in these values, these shadows, the way I think they need to be. I don't like how bumpy that looks. There we go. All right. I think that's where I'm going to stop for now. I hope you liked it. Hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you got something out of it. Hope it wasn't too long. I hope my audio is alright. My air conditioner is running and I've got a cold, so it is what it is. Turn the volume off and listen to some music while you watch the video. It's too late to tell you that, isn't it? Anyway, thanks for watching. Don't forget to hit subscribe, hit the like button. Leave me a comment down below. Tell me what's right, what's wrong. Is my oval messed up? Is my shading wrong? Should I have used a ruler to get straight lines? Tell me what you think in the comments down below. Thanks for watching.